Boom! We're back. And I have a surprise for all of you. Jedi Does Jiu-Jitsu is a longtime YouTuber with over 100,000 subscribers. He has lots of years of jiu-jitsu experience and he's also a brown belt. And he just so happens to live in Vegas, which is exactly where I needed to be for ADCC. So without further ado, let's go meet him.
Jedi actually ended up going to Syndicate MMA with me, which will be another video all on its own. But this video is to focus on Jedi and me, so let's get into our roll and see how we did. And before too much happens, I want to report that Jedi is a great person to roll with. There are no spazzy movements from him, and you won't see any ego from either of us. It's just a fun casual roll. We both start off standing so we can see which one can get a takedown first. He starts off by going for an arm drag right into the single leg, but I wrap up his head and he must know I really like the guillotine. I wonder what gave it away. So he turns into a giraffe to straighten his neck so I can't reach it anymore. Now here's a little wrestling trick. If they control your wrist, you can pull your own arm back, then try and hit a drag like I did. I was looking for the Russian tie, but Jedi's posting against my neck, making it tough to close the distance. Now as I reach for the collar tie, Jedi shoots under my arm and grabs his single leg. I use this to wrap up his neck, but he's doing a nice job defending with his hands, so I'm going to transition towards his back. He's already hand fighting and extending his hips, so I switch off to the single leg, and because I'm so tight, he can't sprawl. From this point, it's basically a guaranteed takedown, but then Jedi goes for a scissor takedown, and look at that! You can safely do this move in practice without partially tearing someone's knee. So thank you, Jedi, I'm a big fan of walking. But I can't get too comfy because Jedi has a deep reap on me and he's going belly down, potentially looking for a heel hook. Until he decides just to let go of it and stand up. Then Jedi tries to cheat the wrestling by going for a jumping... yeah, I don't know. I try pulling the arm in again, and you're probably wondering, why don't you just pop the far elbow and shoot under him? It most likely would have worked for a takedown because it's a great entry, but I can't be guillotining him if I'm shooting on his leg. Instead, I pummel my way in as Jedi goes for the collar tie, and he decides to quit the wrestling.
Mission failed. We'll get him next time.
But Jedi is no slouch on the ground, he immediately starts working a new attack. He grabs control over my tricep and my wrist, then he comes up for the single leg and he falls right into a guillotine. Since he shot into me, he's already underneath my chest, so I fall down into mount, finish the choke, and get the tap over Jedi. When he hooks onto my leg, I know that his hands are occupied, so he won't be able to defend his neck as I snap him into the guillotine. And since my butt is far away, he has to continue to drive into me if he wants to finish this single leg. I have to make sure to pivot on my knees so he can't cut a good angle on me, then I can stand up and keep my chest above his. And instead of risking a crank from the standing position, I can pull him down into mount to make sure I get a nasty guillotine with the correct finish and I won't have to injure his neck at all. And if you think that guillotine is going to be the end of this round, you have so much more to look forward to. We get back to wrestling and he's trying to make a lot of movement, which is a good option, but I'm really tight the entire time. So instead of fighting me at my strong point, he goes for something I hate. Closed guard. Now something I would have changed is that I wouldn't have followed him down to the ground. When you're lifting and resting your opponent on your knees, it's really not that difficult to stay standing in a strong squat. I do the correct choice by putting my hands into his armpits, but he starts pushing my hands away because he knows he won't be able to accomplish anything if they're stuck there. Jedi shows me his chiropractic skills by pulling down on my neck, but instead of falling for his reverse can opener, I start to posture up and push down on his leg. He wants to continuously pull me down because posture control is the #1 key for guard control. Now for the longtime viewers that have watched a lot of my videos and you want to know my biggest weaknesses, opening a closed guard is one of them. Jedi starts to snatch up my right arm. He's hoping to be able to extend it just enough that he can hit me with a straight arm lock. When defending these, I want to make sure that my hips are high, my knuckles to the mat, and that I'm posting on the mat. My #1 concern is that I don't want him to extend my arm too far, but I also don't want to get Sumigaishi sweep over my shoulder. I even hook onto his shoulder so I can continue to walk into him. This would be a good opportunity for him to go towards the omoplata, but since I'm standing up, it'd be quickly loosened and I'm sure he knew that. But if you're in the same position as Jedi and you're starting to lose the arm because they're shimmying it free, that is the time to go towards the omoplata and you can start to set up a sweep or try and finish the submission. Jedi is unwilling to let go of the arm and I enter the danger mode. He's brought my arm to the other side and he's starting to attack my lat. I thought he wanted to take my back and I was fully expecting that, but then he switches it on me by transitioning towards the armbar on the other side. Things are starting to look grim because I fall towards my stomach and he rolls with me. He hooks onto the leg so I won't climb over his body, so I do another forward roll to try and escape. But I end up forgetting my day 1 armbar defense. And I end up having to tap because I'm not going to go out like bath salts Ben. Now I certainly could have done things better on this armbar. After he turned, he wasn't completely belly down, so he lost a lot of leverage. It would have been a risky move, but I should have used my left arm to push down his foot. It would have completely killed the armbar because he wouldn't be able to push against my chest. But if you miss the foot, then you also lose your post and you're forced to roll over, basically giving them the armbar. After my first roll, I messed up by trying to go into him when I should have gone for a hitchhiker escape. I felt confident I could have beat him there because his leg wasn't in front of my face, but clearly I was wrong. I tried the hitchhiker after the second roll, but it was too late and I was forced to tap. Now, unlike some of my friends that were lower belts and they refused to tap, I'm a black belt and I don't care if I tap. Keep that in mind in your next rolls so you don't get injured. And if you're wondering if that got to my head having to tap to a lower belt, it really doesn't concern me that much. It was a great armbar by Jedi, and now we return to wrestling trying to see who can get the better ties on the inside. As soon as I'm able to pummel my way in and get to a good spot, Jedi decides he's going to pull half guard. Then he scoops under my leg towards deep half. This is one of my favorite positions to be in when I'm on top because I have a lot of guillotine and Kimura setups from here, but unfortunately the round is going to come towards an end. He tries to go out the back door and I'm waiting for this to happen so I can bring my hips towards the other side, but then the bell rings, and it concludes our first roll together. It was a great round between the two of us, and if you're not subscribed to his channel or mine, you definitely should get on that. Otherwise, you might miss out some other great content I have with Jedi, or when I'm going to other gyms and seeing how I do against their black belts. And don't forget that if you want to be able to armbar people like Jedi did, you gotta be wearing the same clothing that he has. Check out xmartial.com and use promotion code Tyler10 to get great gear from their website. They just made new Halloween rash guards, and you won't want to miss any of them.